long time since I've seen you, and I've really missed the opportunity to be together on Thursday afternoons with this group. Have had a lot of other activities in my volunteer world, and glad to be back with you today. And delighted that we have our presenter today, whom I'll try to introduce in a moment. First, just to say we're delighted that you're here. Pastor Doug, did you want to say a word too to greet people before I introduce?
I think I know most of you, but I kind of am coming and going in different directions on Thursdays. Just want to extend my continued thanks to the task force and to Pastor Jerry. This has just been an incredible, what started as a book study and a conversation, but has become a real just ongoing work together that is just, it's like flowers that just keep coming up in the spring and new life. And so we're grateful to be in this journey together. Grateful for you, Jerry, and for the team. So welcome, and I'm glad that we can be together on this journey and these conversations.
Great, thanks. Well, first of all, I've known about Pima Council on Aging for a long time. I was a pastor in Tucson for about 15 years and got a little bit of acquaintance at that point. Also got to know the person who became their executive director, Mark Clark, and I was going to tell stories about Mark. If I had any stories, I'd love to pass it on to the staff. But then the other thing that happened is I was able to make contact with PCOA, is that I found out that one of the teenagers from that church that I served on Northwest Side now is a staff member, Sarah Bonson. So it's just a kind of a small world, and when you're in Tucson over a period of time, you get to know people, and it's been really great. So hello, come on in, welcome. So I'm delighted that this will be the first of 3 basic sessions with PCOA that we have arranged for us and for you. And we're leading off here with the leader of the whole initiative around Dementia Capable Southern Arizona. Is their motto, that team. And so it's a wonderful thing. And I'm going to ask you one more time, let's see, Harbhajan. Harbhajan is with us today. She has her own story in relationship to dementia. And then if she will say a word about David Torres, who will be coming, and this is a sign-up sheet for those of you who want the individual consultation. So there are 5 spots that are still available. And as I understood it when we talked, there may be an opportunity for someone to come back again. So, okay, great. So I'll turn this over to you. You've been advised that the viewing area is from here to over there. So stay within that spectrum.
I'll move over.
But you get to walk.
Okay.
So that's good.
I'll get my steps.
Thanks so much for coming.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Harbhajan Khalsa. I am the Dementia Capable Southern Arizona Program Director. I work for PCOA. So first off, I'm going to do a little bit of an overview of PCOA. Some of you may be more familiar with the services we offer. There are a lot of them, so I'm not going to talk about everything, but I'm going to talk about a few of the services that we offer, and then I'm going to transition into talking about DCSA. Dementia Capable Southern Arizona. Then we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A, and then we'll do a little bit of a breakout group, and I have some questions for you all. So first I want to let you know that Pima Council on Aging is a nonprofit located in Tucson, Arizona. We have been around since 1967. We are the designated area agency on aging. So what that means is the federal government in 1967 initiated the Older Americans Act. And so with that, every state has money that they put towards area agencies on aging. Each state does it a little bit differently. Some states have 20 AAAs, some states have 5. Here in Arizona, we have 6. Some of the smaller counties like Western Arizona are clumped into one area agency. But Region 1, which is Maricopa County, and Pima County are their own AAAs because of the size of our population. We primarily serve people who are over than 60, We target people with the greatest economic and social need. We also have services for family caregivers, for people who are caring for a loved one over 60. And we do have some services for grandparents raising grandchildren and some people with physical disabilities who are adults over the age of 18. Also, we have grown substantially during COVID and within the last 5 years. So we have acquired a company called PCOA at Home, which is a non-medical home care agency that provides in-home support for people who are aging. So we have, we contract with our All-Tex plans, and we provide non-medical in-home care. So personal care, bathing assistance, light housekeeping, some meal preparation. So we provide those services. We also acquired a company called Caregiver Training Institute, which provides certified caregiver training, nutrition, nursing training, and assisted living manager training. So we're really trying to help provide more people in our community. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the fact that we are experiencing a national direct care worker shortage. And so our hope is in working with PCOA at Home and CGTI that we'll be able to bring more people into the workforce. So I want to provide a little bit of background. Some of these numbers are a little bit outdated. We're still waiting for some 2023 information. But in 2022, the Pima County population is of people 60 and older is 289,000, and it has grown by 37%. So we know Arizona has more older adults than most states. It's Arizona, Texas, California, and Florida, because people like to come and retire in the sunshine. Who wouldn't? It's beautiful, even when it's 105 out. But what that means is that there are more people who are aging here who need more services. And so there needs to be more awareness about what the needs are of older adults and also how they can access services. So I just like to provide that scope because not everyone understands what that means. So as an area agency on aging, every 4 years we complete a community needs assessment. While this says 2016, because 2020 fell during COVID, we were given a 2-year extension. So this is what we have as of the last community needs assessment. But I will say we are actually just completed our new community needs assessment. Hopefully some of you all participated in that. It was a lengthy survey. I think it was about 10 pages long. But it's really important because your answers are going to drive our services over the next 4 years. So in 2016, the top 5 concerns for older adults in Pima County were falling, how to live independently and age with grace in their homes, memory loss, Medicare, and dental care. And so those 5 needs helped us plan our services that we were going to provide over the next 4 years. Seeing that memory loss was one of those, that actually helped them propel to creating the program that I work in. They said, oh, okay, so we have more people aging in our community, more people who are experiencing dementia. How can we provide support and services? And that's one of the ways that PCOA was like, okay, let's create a program. Let's start providing some support. The other thing that they said was social isolation. So, and it's interesting that people were concerned about social isolation pre-COVID, and now even more so having gone through the pandemic, more and more people are concerned with social isolation. So I want to talk just a little bit about some of the services that we offer to help with social isolation and aging in place. And I'm not going to go super in depth. If you have questions, I'm happy to take them. We also have a lot of information on our website, and we have a helpline available. So I'm going to just kind of go over these, hopefully just know that these are some of the services that are available if you or anyone you know is in need. So yes?
You said questions, so.
Yes.
Is social isolation basically number 6 on the list, or is that an overriding, is that above, where does that fit? You just gave a list of 5 and then.
So it was not one of the top ones. It was an overriding issue in 2016 that we actually were not paying enough attention to. We were not asking enough direct questions about it, but in the comments section and in some of the feedback we got, consistently people were like, I'm worried about social isolation. And so in the new 2022 community needs assessment, we took a very intentional stance and asked a lot of direct questions about that. So I'm really curious. They did the whole report. We got, I think, 3,000 responses. And so they're putting all of that together. So once I have that, I'm happy to share that because I will be very curious to see where that falls in those numbers of concern.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. So we do our PIMA Meals on Wheels. We have served, at this point, because these numbers are a little bit old, I think we've served about 500,000 meals in the last year. So we provide Meals on Wheels. We have our community lunch program where we have grab-and-go meals available. We did a lot of that during the pandemic. We really had to pivot. We closed a lot of our community lunch sites because of the pandemic, and we switched to the grab-and-go. We have now transitioned almost all of our meal sites back open to the lunch program. We have in-home services, and I'm gonna take a moment and just specify some things because some people are like, oh, in-home services. So we have a few ways that we offer in-home services. Unfortunately, because we are a nonprofit and we have a limited budget, we can serve a limited number of people with free in-home services. So we have a helpline, and so anyone who is interested, who is not able to pay for services for themselves can give us a call. We have a screening that we do to understand what the needs are, what the economic situation in the household is, and if it qualifies for our services. And so in those situations, we are able to enroll folks into what we call our case management program and provide them with an in-home aide. So we have direct care workers that come in the home and provide those personal care and light housekeeping. I say all of that understanding we have a large wait list for that because, as always, there is more need than there are services. We do the best that we can. But we also have, if people have the financial resources, there are over 15 home care companies in Pima County that provide these services. And so they range from anywhere from about $20 to $40 an hour. So if you do have those resources, those are much easier to access and less of a wait list. But both options are available. And then we have home repair and adoption. So we have a limited number of home repair things that we can do for lower income homeowners. Right now, because it is summer almost and it's only April, we do a lot of cooler turn on and repairs. So we're doing that right now. We help people get their swamp coolers turned on, get their air conditioners checked out. We can do limited plumbing assistance, but that is specifically for the lower income households. And again, if you have any questions on these, we have our helpline, and I'll have that information at the end of the presentation. So back to your social isolation question, I wanted to provide a little bit more information on social isolation and how it's impacting our community. So in 2018, which is pre-COVID, AARP found that 1 in 3 people 45 and older is experiencing loneliness. And I think that's really impactful. And it's only going to continue growing. And I would be very curious to hear what the numbers are now. And I know a lot of these organizations are doing information and research to try and gather that information. But one thing in the dementia lens that I look at is it's really important to understand that isolation and loneliness can lead to an increased potential for developing memory loss. And so I really like to help people understand that, you know, we want people to be engaged, we want people to be socially connected, but not just because it feels good, but it's also mentally good for you as well. And it can help, whether you have dementia, it can help slow the progression, or it can help delay if you're going to be getting dementia. So I think it's just really important that you have these social connections, that you work to connect with others in your community. I mean, you guys are all here, so you're already doing a good start. But I just like for people to understand how impactful social isolation can be. So aging in place. This was another big concern in the last needs assessment. And this is something that at PCOA we're really working to promote, is how can we help people live with dignity and grace in their homes for as long as possible. Because I love my home. I've lived in my home for a very long time, and I would not want to leave it. So we want to help people stay in that situation. We want people to be able to adapt their homes as they age so that it can be a safe environment for them. And so some of those factors are making sure that you have formal supports and services in place, making sure that your home is adaptable and modifiable. Do you need grab bars installed. Like my dad lives in Oregon and I had to work with him in his apartment complex to get grab bars installed in all the right places, and he's a very tall man, and so they had to actually put them up much higher than they normally do, and so making sure that his apartment was adaptable for him as he's growing older. We had to get him different durable medical equipment so he could shower safely while he's still living independently. So all of these things are important to keep in mind because we want folks to be able to stay in their homes if that's what they want as long as possible. And it's also important to understand what your wants and needs are. So it's not on this slide, but I always like to talk about your end-of-life care planning. So in this breath and understanding, what do you want with the end of your life? And do your loved ones know what that is? Because if you know it, but you haven't communicated it, and you haven't written it down, then how can they follow through with your wishes? So we have services at PCOA that do help with end-of-life care planning, but I think it ties in very nicely with the aging in place because you never know what might happen and you want to be prepared. So a few other services that we have, and again, this doesn't even cover everything we've got, it's a lot, but some of the things that we have for social isolation and aging in place, we have our Senior Companion Program. So this is where folks, volunteers are 55 and older who actually offer companionship, transportation, and day-to-day assistance for isolated older adults. There are several stations throughout Tucson and Pima County. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but it's listed on our website where they do have senior companions available. And it's a really wonderful, wonderful program. We have a variety of classes, workshops, and community engagements. We have a full list of everything that we offer on our website and on our Eventbrite link, and I'm happy to also share that information with all of you. As I said earlier, we have our in-home care support. We also have our Neighbors Care Alliance. So in 2022, there were 15 volunteer sites where we had our Neighbors Care Alliance program, and that's where we have neighborhood associations that come together and provide support to their neighbors. They can provide transportation, help with meals, just kind of support in whatever your neighbor might need. So we have these different associations for that. And we have a variety of volunteer opportunities. Just a few more slides and then I'll transition to our dementia stuff. So I do have a question. How many of you in here either currently are caring for a loved one or have in the past? So caregiving and family caregiving is really impactful. Not a lot of people identify themselves as a caregiver, and I think that's one of the things. I didn't identify myself as a caregiver until I went down this rabbit hole, and then I looked at the kind of checklist and I was like, I thought because my dad lives in Oregon that I wouldn't be identified as a caregiver. But then I looked at it, I was like, help with medications, help with appointments, all of those things. I was like, oh, I guess I am a caregiver in a fashion. And so I think it's really important to understand that 1 in 4 Americans is acting as an informal caregiver. That's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of people. And on average, people are spending 34 hours a week providing caregiving. And this is all informal. This is people just taking care of their loved ones because they know that they need help. And so with all of this in mind, PCOA said, how can we provide support? And the federal government did too. I mean, we do have federal funding, which is really helpful. So we have a whole family caregiving support program. And it's really wonderful. And so we offer one-on-one caregiver consultation. We have a variety of caregiver trainings. We have support groups. We have respite care and services, which some are provided for free depending on need, and others are for cost. We have grandparents raising grandchildren. And we also have a new program that we're launching where we go into workplaces and provide training and support for working caregivers who are working full-time and then caring in their personal lives. So before I transition over to the dementia, does anyone have any questions on what I just went over? I know it's a lot.
Just one, would you be willing to share the PowerPoint with me and I can share it with others?
Yes.
Okay.
Happy to. Any other questions? Okay. So next is the area that I am very familiar with. It is the program that I have the pleasure and opportunity to oversee, which is Dementia Capable Southern Arizona. So DCSA, because it's a lot of words, was launched in 2020, and we got our funding in March right before COVID hit, and then COVID hit, and we had to pivot all of our programs and services to be able to offer it in a pandemic world. And so it's been a really interesting evolution. But our goal is to increase early detection for Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. We want to create a community that is dementia friendly. We want to create strong partnerships so that we can provide resources to people living with dementia and their caregivers. And we want to be able to expand those resources. We know that what we have is great, but it's never enough. And so we want to provide more. So before I go down the rabbit hole of all the services we have, some of you may know this and some of you may not, and I don't want to assume what you know or don't know. So I have fallen down this path as well. You hear the term dementia and Alzheimer's disease used interchangeably, and I'd like to educate people that they are different. And I love this graphic because it's really helpful to understand. Dementia is an umbrella term that describes symptoms of memory loss. So you do not necessarily have dementia. You may have symptoms of dementia, but then you have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal dementia, or mixed dementia, or other like Huntington's disease. So a lot of times, yes?
What is Lewy body?
Lewy body dementia is a very progressive form of brain deterioration. It is very rapid. Typically, it's a little bit of a younger onset. Usually, I believe it's more of the 55 to 65 range, but it impacts, and I can't remember right now off the top of my head which part of the brain, but it's a very rapid deterioration of the brain itself. The brain actually has like a shrinkage that occurs, but it's very progressive. Thank you, good question. So I wanted to provide a little bit of information. So there's the broader dementia and then what's happening in Arizona. So fortunately or unfortunately, we will be #1 in 2025. We will be the leading state in the nation for Alzheimer's disease and related dementia. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we are a retiree state. More and more people are coming here to retire and to age in place. And so what that means is we just have a higher percentage of people over 60. So by 2025, the number of people diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia will increase by 33.3%. In Arizona, it is the 5th leading cause of death. It is almost a 200% increase since 2000. And there are a little over 250,000 family caregivers who are going through this in Arizona. So it's something that almost everyone is experiencing. I think I always like to ask this group as well, how many people in here know of, whether it's directly or indirectly, somebody living with dementia or Alzheimer's disease? I know I do. Yeah, it's something that's out there, and it can be overwhelming. It can be very scary. And so we like to say, while we can't cure it, we're not scientists, that's not what we're doing. There are things that we can do to provide support to our community. There are things that we can do to provide education and hopefully lessen the burden, help reduce the stigma, because it's not a fun topic. People don't like to go, yes, let's talk about memory loss. That sounds like so much fun. It's not, but we want to try and do it with some grace and a little humor and help people understand that there are resources and there's a lot of really innovative work that's being done there in our communities. So first I want to talk a little bit about Dementia Friends. So when we were looking at creating this DCSA program, we heard about this global movement called Dementia Friends, or Dementia Friendly America. And it actually originated from the Alzheimer's Society in the UK. When I started going down this rabbit hole, I was really impressed with how much innovative work relating to dementia has come out of the UK. A lot of that has now come here and we are adapting it in the United States, which is really exciting. But the Dementia Friends is a training that you can all go through. It's 1 hour, and it helps people have an understanding of how dementia impacts people, how it impacts your community, and how you can make a difference. It is not meant to be this very in-depth training where you're going to be a dementia expert by the end of it. It's really meant to be a starting point, a place where we can have common language, create a foundation, and then build upon that. And that ties in directly with our dementia-friendly communities plan. So in that line, under the dementia-friendly umbrella, are dementia-friendly communities, which are communities, villages, towns, or cities where every aspect of the community is trained in understanding in dementia. So everywhere I would go, so if I'm living with dementia, I can be comfortable, or my family can be comfortable knowing that I can take the bus, and the bus driver has gone through this training, and the librarian has, and the people in the grocery store have. So if I have an episode, if I get lost, if I get confused, people know where to go, how to interact with me, and how to help me, so that it doesn't become a bigger issue. And so that's what we're working on right now. We are working on making Pima County a dementia-friendly community. There is a whole process that we have to go through, of course. We received a resolution through the Pima County Board of Supervisors, so they are on board. We are working with different local partners to actually create this plan. We're in the creation phase, and then hopefully in the next couple of months we'll be able to move into the implementation phase. So we will be working closely with communities like yours to offer this training and to help provide more education and awareness.
Could you speak a little bit more about that? Would it be like a group like this that you would offer services to, or in church, in a group in a church, or what do you foresee as the way to do that?
So that's a great question. So how it is implemented, there's actually a process through Dementia Friendly America where you work in the different sectors. So they have like sector training. So there's a business sector training of how to train businesses in dementia friends, how to help them make their business dementia friendly. And when I say dementia friendly, I mean every aspect from the staff are trained to your physical space, because there are things that are that you can do to your physical space to make it more dementia friendly. Very similar things to making your space aging friendly. So having it be handicapped accessible, having very clear signage, there's certain types of light. And so they go over all of that training with these different organizations. There's a specific faith-based community sector training as well. So what it means is that we come in and we train these different sectors, and we say, okay, this is the training, this is the Dementia Friends. We go through it, then we provide support ongoing to that organization, that sector, so that they can be dementia friendly. And it's a little bit broad because every county, every community is a little bit different in how they want to adopt it. So for us, we're looking really at providing education, because not a lot of people understand dementia. So we want people to know what is dementia, how to look for the signs of memory loss in yourself and your loved one, how to interact with people in the community with dementia. So we're really starting from an educational standpoint, and then once we've accomplished that, then we'll kind of move up in the tiers. So it's a tiered process. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yes.
It goes through many different stages, so it's kind of like once you've graduated from one, then you move to the next.
Do you have some that are starting now, or are you just in the planning stage?
We are just in the planning stage. There are already some dementia-friendly communities in Phoenix. So there's dementia-friendly Tempe and dementia-friendly Sun Valley, but everyone takes it a little bit differently. Because Pima County is so large and vast, we wanted to really start from the educational framework, also helping people understand what research is out there, how to get connected to research studies. So I can provide Jerry with some of this information to share with you all on what do some of these communities look like that have it established. There's signage that can be put on different businesses that says this.
Grocery stores?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, grocery stores, restaurants, movie theaters. that can have kind of similar to the safe space signage that'll say this is a dementia-friendly business or organization, so that people can go into it knowing that they don't have to explain themselves.
Go for it.
Yes, that's what our hope is. Oh, I'm already on that side. So up next, I wanted to talk about some of the direct services that we offer. How can we actually help you all as people in our community? And one of those ways is through options counseling. So I like to refer to options counseling as short-term case management. We have 2 certified options counselors through our program that provide memory screenings. With these memory screenings, these are non-diagnostic. So you don't leave it with a diagnosis. We are not medical professionals. That is not our role. But it helps give you an understanding of, should I go seek further help? Is this something that I need to be concerned about right now? Or are things looking pretty good? So we offer a memory screening. It is non-invasive. It is really easy. It takes about 5 minutes. It's 8 yes or no questions that help us establish a baseline. And then just like with your physical health, we encourage that people come back once a year to get a memory screening because our brains change over time. And so we want people to kind of get in that mentality of you go for a physical every year, once a year get your memory checked. We have one-on-one support and consultation where we kind of go through this process with you. So you've done your memory screening, there are some concerns about memory loss, what next? So we help walk through that journey with you. We do person-centered planning, so we can help people get a diagnosis, help go through that process, talk to their families, or look at assisted living if that's the next phase, if they don't feel like they can live at home independently. We help with end-of-life care planning as well. So people are like, well, what do you do? I'm like, a little bit of everything. It's hard to say, but we basically try and meet folks where they're at and help them come up with a plan as it relates to their memory loss and help them work through that. And on that note, I have the sign-up sheet. So next Thursday from 9 to 3, one of our options counselors, David Torres, he will be here offering one-on-one consultations in which he can meet with all of you, provide a memory screening if that's something you're interested, and just spend about 45 minutes and talk through what are your concerns, what are your questions, what resources are you wanting information on, and just provide you with a little bit more information. So if you're interested, we have the sign-up sheet here. As Jerry said, we have 5 other slots, but if this doesn't work for you, if this time isn't good, we have our services available outside of that, so you can just give us a call on our helpline and we can come out and meet with you at any time. Yes?
Does it make a difference, or do you often think that you are better than other people that you have met, but you're actually not? I'm frequently members of the family say, I forgot, and I forgot. And the big joke is, well, how many more times that she might remember. But, my relatives think it's more serious, I think, than I do. And that's not exactly right. I mean, I think that exercise helps a lot. And I go to the gym a lot and do a treadmill. But it's not the answer to everything.
They do say what's good for the heart is good for the brain, and so what you're doing is really great of trying to keep yourself healthy. There are things that you can do to help keep your brain healthy as well. Nicole, one of our trainers, she's going to come in 2 weeks and talk a little bit more about that, or what are things that you can do for your mental health and your brain health. How can you keep your brain active? But memory screenings are a great place to start because you can get a baseline of going like, is this something that I should be concerned about now, or are things looking okay? And then you can check again in 6 months or a year to see if it's the same or if it's progressing, and that might give you a little bit of comfort in knowing where things are at. So that's something we can definitely help you with. Yeah. And I will say with our options counseling, we do come to you. So we do home visits, we can come here, we can meet out in the community. We can also do our services telephonically, so whatever is most easiest, we're happy to do. Next, I want to talk a little bit about memory cafes. I know Regina came and talked about these, so I won't talk for too long because I also know we're short on time a little bit. But memory cafes are one of the services that we offer for people living with memory loss and their caregivers. They are a socialization space. So memory cafes are not intended to be a support group. They're really intended to be a place where folks who are going through this process can come together and hang out for an hour, have a cup of coffee, talk with your friends, talk with your neighbors. Each cafe is different. Some are musically themed. Ours in Tucson, we have a cafe at the Katy, which is in partnership with Senior Pride, and typically we do sing-alongs. So we have local musicians who come, and we have the lyrics projected up on the board, like in this picture here. That's Kurt, one of our volunteer musicians, and we just do a sing-along for an hour, and it's a lot of fun. Yesterday we had our other cafe, and this is the Pima County Book Bike. So they came out and they did an activity with us, and then they brought their book bike so people were able to peruse the books and take whatever books were of interest to them. But the idea of a memory cafe is to kind of check your diagnosis at the door. You can come to a space where people understand what you're going through, the staff are trained, you don't have to worry, and hopefully you can just lighten the load for an hour. We typically have coffee and snacks. We also have one at La Posada Centers, which is open to anyone here in the community. And they have, recently they had a magician come, which I heard was a lot of fun. They've done magicians and some theater and music. And so there's a wide variety of things that we can offer. While we only have 2 right now through our program, we are looking to expand this. So hopefully within the next year, we'll have, my goal is 6 cafes up and running. So hopefully we'll be able to get there. So I know I had talked a little bit about our family caregiving support programs. We have support groups that are available for caregivers, that are broadly available for any type of caregiver. And then we also have a few specialized support groups who are designed for caregivers who are caring for someone with dementia. So I wanted to just provide that information. Alzheimer's Association has a variety of support groups in person and online throughout the month. Banner Alzheimer's Institute has a lot of them as well. Right now, their support groups are all online. And then we just launched a partnership support group with our program in Alzheimer's Association, and we have a monthly caregiver support group that we have in Central Tucson. So we're looking to expand these as well. And then finally, I just want to put a little call to action. So a lot of people say, well, what can I do? Because it can feel helpless, it can feel a little hopeless. And there are a lot of things that can be done to get involved. One of them is to become a dementia friend or to provide dementia friends training in your community. We are always looking for volunteers. One of the things that make memory cafes so unique is that they're typically staffed by volunteers. So if that's something you're interested in, we have volunteer training, we have a volunteer coordinator that helps with all of this. We also look for volunteers for our support groups as well. So there's a variety of ways that you can get involved if that's something that you're interested in. And again, we direct everyone, people are like, well, where do I call? We ask that everyone call our helpline, and I'll give that number at the end, and it's on, I think, all of the flyers. Yeah, it's on the back of the brochure that was passed out. That's where we have everyone start, and then our helpline staff kind of funnel people to the appropriate services. But they know about all this, so they can get you connected. All right, questions? Yes?
One of your slides up there said Alzheimer's was the 5th or 6th leading cause of death. How does memory loss cause you to die?
That's a great question. So how does memory loss cause you to die? I will preface my answer with I am not a medical professional, so the knowledge that I have is from what I have researched and what I have been taught. So there's a variety of ways that you can die from Alzheimer's disease or related dementias. Some types of dementia can cause the brain to deteriorate. Lewy body can also cause the body to deteriorate. Frontotemporal dementia can cause brain deterioration. But a lot of times what happens with memory loss is you forget the basic necessities of life. Eating, drinking, exercising, taking care of yourself. So a lot of times what happens is over time, you are not hydrated, you are not nourished, you are not taking your medications as you're supposed to. And so it's kind of a domino effect of things that can lead to death. And so that's typically what happens. Some diagnoses that can be the actual cause, but typically it's a progression of the symptoms of that lead to poor health. Other questions? Yes, Jay?
Is there certification at all for the caregiver support groups for dementia?
So there is not a certification, but we have different trainings. So for folks who are doing volunteer work for our dementia programs, whether it's support group or memory cafes, we have people meet with our trainer and do a series of trainings. One of them is the Dementia Friends. Excuse me. Then we have another series of trainings that help people understand how to communicate with people living with dementia. And so there's a variety of different trainings that we do to provide volunteer support, so that we don't just throw them to the wolves and expect them to be able to manage that. We provide initial and ongoing training. Yes.
I volunteer at Memory Cafe at La Posada, and you do get fingerprinted. You get interviewed and you go in and get fingerprinted before you become a volunteer there.
Yes. Thank you for saying that is correct. We do background checks and fingerprint clearance. So any volunteer that we have is through PCOA. That is a requirement of our organization because our volunteers are working with vulnerable adults. So there is an initial kind of application process and the background check and the fingerprint clearance. We pay for that for folks, but we do have that initial upfront requirement as well.
There was no pay for me.
Yeah, we pay for it for you, so you don't have to, we cover that cost.
Okay.
You named David Torres will be here next week.
Yes.
There are 5 more appointment slots.
Yes.
Okay. And you said he can do memory screening.
Yes.
What else might he do if we had one of those appointments in those 5 slots besides memory screening?
So he can do the memory screening, and a lot of times the next step is dependent upon the screening results. So if the screening surfaces some concerns with memory, he will go through what are the next steps. So do you have a current primary care doctor? Do you know how to get in touch with them? There are also some special clinics that we can refer people to, like Center for Neurosciences or Banner Alzheimer's Institute, where people can get kind of specialized care. But he'll really ask the questions of like, what do you need? Do you need help in your home? Do you need help with talking to your family? Do you need help with end-of-life care planning? And then he'll create a plan of action with kind of a realistic timeline, and also he will then check in and follow up with you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other questions? Yes.
Are there any new medications out that are
So are there any new medications out there that are of help? I will say you have to speak with your doctor about that. There are medications out there. There is controversy around this. There are medications out there that can help with some of the symptoms of memory loss. There are some medications that are coming out. There's actually a lot of debate right now because I can't remember what it's called. Medication names always go out of my head. They're all complicated. But there's a new medication coming out, and there's a lot of controversy because they're not wanting to accept Medicare and Medicaid for it. So it would only be available to people who can afford it, which we are very strongly against. And so we're working with the Alzheimer's Association and other people to try and fight that. But that's a question for your primary care doctor or your neurologist. There are also clinical trials. So that's one of the things we really encourage folks to look at is clinical trials, because there are a variety of different clinical trials happening at any time that people can get involved in depending on their level of memory loss, and they have different medications and also non-pharmacological, so non-medical interventions that can be used. Yes.
I just want to piggyback on your answer. In this series we're listening to today, the second one, if I'm not mistaken, with the doctor that presented, has a very good overview of the status of Alzheimer's medicine.
Dr. Hector.
Yeah, if you look online, you might want to say how to do that.
Yes, on our Dementia Forum, over all the weeks we've had, Chad has been recording those, and you can go to YouTube and go to UMCGV, which is our YouTube presence, UMCGV, United Methodist Church, Green Valley, and there you can scroll through and see the different videos, which include Wonderful sermons also by our different pastors. No, I'm kidding. But the videos that Chad has posted. So thank you. And so my thanks to Chad for making, and this will be there too. So if you know someone who was not here today that would have benefited or could not be here, please share this information. You know, you say go to our YouTube and you can see Harbhajan there and this great presentation today.
And we can put that phone number that you're going to
Oh,
say,
perfect.
we can put that in the description.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
perfect.
anybody watching the video will have that phone number right below there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
As a community, what can we do as a community to help the people in our community who have dementia or are taking care of people with dementia?
That is a fantastic question. I would say there are a variety of things. I think from my standpoint with the programming that I do, we really encourage people to start with the Dementia Friends trainings, and we're happy to come and bring that to you all here. We're working right now, and we were just talking with Jerry and Doug about how we can bring some more services to the Green Valley area. So we're in conversations to see how we can bring some more support. But as an individual, the thing that I encourage people, be neighborly. Check in on your neighbors, touch base with them. Don't be afraid to have a conversation with someone who looks like they're maybe a little lost or wandering. I did a radio interview a week ago, and the gentleman, he was like, he had a next door neighbor who he realized had dementia because he heard a loud noise in the middle of the night and she was outside wandering, which is very typical behavior with people who are experiencing memory loss. And so he got involved in her life and was able to provide her with support. So I think it's about being engaged, asking questions, and not being afraid to talk about it. If you are noticing signs of concern in a neighbor, in a friend, in a loved one, bring that up. A lot of people don't like to talk about it, and some people can be defensive, but sometimes it can take that person who's outside of your circle to say, hey, is everything okay? I've noticed some concerns. I'm here to help. How can I help you? And so we really just encourage people to get involved, whether it's volunteering, doing a training, going to a memory cafe, letting your neighbors know what's available in the community as well, because not everyone goes to the same circles. And so sometimes people get a little isolated, and so just making sure that people know what's going on is really helpful. Yes?
We have a Hope Lunch at this church on twice a month, and another church does the same. But as I'm observing, people come and sit at tables with people they don't know, sometimes they do know, and it's just a wonderful place for people to be together and have food and conversation. And I just highly recommended that for anyone. I mean, it just helps with loneliness. It helps me to come and see people and visit with them.
Yeah, it fills your cup and it fills others as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
Can you say a word about Nicole and what she will bring? And just for everybody else, she will be here in 2 weeks. She is the trainer, right?
Yeah, she's our community education specialist.
Okay, so she will be with us. What will she bring? And all of you, what would you want her to bring? Harbhajan
Yes.
asked me, what should I talk about? And I said, well, I know this group wants some practical things. I've given her a little advice. What would you say, what do we need to say to Nicole when she comes in 2 weeks, okay?
So
I'll say what she's gonna say and then we'll...
I will say what she can say. So we have a variety of trainings created, and I was kind of hoping to get some insight and inspiration from you all as we do this training in 2 weeks. But given what Jerry had said, I wanted to start this off with just some background of who we are, what we do, what services we have, and then kind of cue Nicole up for a lot of the practical tips. So we have a lot of practical tips on what are things that you can do to slow the progression, what are things that you can do if somebody is already diagnosed at the different stages of dementia. So there are many stages, and so Nicole has a series on the different stages and what you can do, like non-medically, that you can do to help when somebody is having challenging behaviors. We have information on nutrition, health, What else do we have? We have a lot of stuff about how to communicate with folks, so how to help communicate with someone who is experiencing dementia. But we can really tailor it to what you all are interested in and what you would like more information on. So I'd love to hear from you. Yes.
Maybe something about how to help a caregiver cope with the
Okay.
caregiving for a person with dementia.
How to support a caregiver that you know of.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
Well, we want to thank you very much for this, and now the sign-up sheet is there, so if you would like to sign up for an individual session, go right ahead and do that.
And I'm here for questions if you have any questions afterwards too.
I want to also say a word too about Prestige being with us again, so thank you for coming back.
Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot your name. I was calling you
Julie.
Prestige, but
Julie.